three. One, two, three. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to this evening. We have a special treat for you guys, and I need to get this higher. Okay. So I just want to get started really quickly because we have a great class today. We're going to talk about money, how money works. We have Ms. Nicole here, but let's get started like we always do as we learn about money today. So, welcome to the Choose the Change Mentoring Program. The Choose the Change Mentoring Program is a self supported Christian based group sponsored by the Choose the Change Foundation. There is no fee to attend here, but we do encourage donations by our members and anyone who believes in what we do. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change your life. We are on a mission to restore families by inspiring, challenging, and equipping men to become better fathers, husbands, and leaders in our community. So if you're ready to change your life, you are definitely in the right place. Through this program, you will learn where to start your life change journey, tools and resources to keep you going, like today, and a support system to help you reach your goals. The Choose the Change Mentoring Program believes in three key principles of life. Number one, we believe in the life changing power of God through faith in Jesus Christ. Number two, we believe that God has already done his part and that it is our responsibility, right, to learn to do ours. And number three, that success and failure are both choices. And the choice is yours. So if you're ready, say, I'm ready. All right, guys, I just want to say just really quickly, just a couple of announcements as we get started. We still have, we're doing a chicken plate sale to raise money. We're selling over, we're trying to sell 400 tickets. I think we have at least half of them still. We still have tickets available. So if you know anybody interested in helping us out, let me know to sell more tickets. And I'll share more about that next week. And but you know what? Let's just get right into this. Oh, by the way, what was the other thing that I was going to share? April 11th, we're having a job fair, a second chance job fair here in our building, here in the concert hall. That's pretty cool. I've teamed up with the parole office, the probation office, and the workforce commission. Is that correct? Workforce commission. And we've teamed up and we're doing a second chance job fair. Well, there it is right there. It's going to be held right here. That's April 11th from 9 to 12. So that's really, really good. This is for anybody that has a record that's having a hard time finding a job. This is what this is for. So that's April 11th. So, guys, I have a very special guest here. I met her a few weeks ago, and it just struck me for what she's doing. And I think in here we learn. I want to teach you. I want to give you information that will help you move forward in life, better your life. And I think this is a huge one because it was for me. I'm still learning about money, but today we're going to learn about how money works. And Mrs. Nicole Dublado, I got it. Dublado is going to share with us what we have. I want to give her as much time as she needs because we're going to be here exactly 1 hour with her sharing the information that she has for us. So why don't we give her a hand, Miss Nicole?
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here. I love teaching these classes because I really do believe in the power of understanding money. And I really do think that all the information here, it's very simple to understand, which I think is beautiful because we have a wide range of audiences. But the most important part is that you can take action on what you learned today. And that's what I think sets us apart from other organizations. And so if we could get started with the slides. Thank you guys again. This is really, really, really exciting for me to be teaching you guys this information because what you're going to learn tonight is really not taught in schools. And my one goal that I really want to emphasize is that I really, 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 really want you guys to read the book. It's a really simple, easy read. It's about an hour to an hour 30, and it's really fun. It has characters, it has pictures, and we like to call it the Disney World of personal finance. And hopefully, I could do this with one hand. But if you could see, there's like characters, there's pictures, there's even exercises that you can do in here. And that's what I really love about it, is that you really have the chance to, if you allow it to, if you take action to change your life financially. And I know it sounds a little cliche, but it happens almost every single day with our 10,000 educators that we have across here in the US, and then, of course, across Canada too. And we teach every single day, sometimes to 200 people, sometimes to two people. Sometimes there was this one class that I had scheduled in a Zoom and nobody showed up. But at the end of the day, what matters is that this education is getting out to you guys. And I'm going to make a bold claim, but I truly believe that if you read this book and take action on the 7 money milestones, you will never have to read another personal finance book. And you're probably thinking, Nicole, I want to read all those books. I need to have every single detail about all the finances. I need to know every single number. And I mean, you're more than welcome to. You can do whatever you want to do, but for the most of us, we don't want to. We just want to know what we need to know and then move on with our lives. And this is what this does. And so, what we're going to do is also going to give you these books completely for free, because I truly believe in what this is. And my goal is for you to take action. That's the most important part, is for you to take action. And so, this book is actually the number one personal finance book of 2020, which is absolutely amazing. We've been featured on over 500 television shows. We've been seen, 200 television shows. We've been seen by over 75 million people, and we sold over 500,000 copies, which is absolutely amazing. But another thing that we're more proud of, rather than just this ranking, is the fact that people are actually reading the book. Like, people are reading. I read this book, and I'm not like a big reader or anything like that, but I read this book, and it's really helps you feel smarter when it comes to your finance, and it doesn't make you feel like you need a PhD in economics to thrive and to really make a difference in your financial life. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit more about rich people, rich corporations, how they look at money, how they strategize their money a little bit differently than the masses do. And this is pretty much why the rich keep getting richer. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But yes, this has been a media darling. And the reason why is it's because it's really written for the rest of us who are going to work every day, putting your kids through school every day, trying to pay the mortgage, really just like trying to keep your head above water. It is written for us so that everybody can understand, feel smart, and then, of course, take action. And Tom, one of the co authors of the book, he likes to say that education without action has no value. And what rich people do is that they take action on their money, and that's why they're rich. And so, yes, we've been seen by over 75 million people. And the next slide is going to show a short video that highlights our media coverage. Hopefully it loads. There you go. You go back and just press play. It's not working? Okay. Well, it was just a little video of us on CNN, CNBC, just showing you who Steve is and just a little bit of information about that, so that you could see like what shows that we've been on. But if you go to the next slide, that it'll show you a little bit about these are the shows that we've pretty much been on, and it was just little snippets from the interviews that we've had. And then you can go to the next slide. And so this is a cast of characters, and this is pretty much why we like to call it the Disney World of personal finance, because what other financial book has an entire cast of different characters, different ethnicities, different ages, and you'll definitely meet them in the book. And remember, my one goal that I have for you tonight is to read the goal. So we're going to focus on the goal. We're going to stick to the goal. Next slide. And as Tom says, financial illiteracy is the number one economic crisis in the world. And this is the big question, is that why don't they teach this in schools? It's crazy. And I get this all the time as an educator in this organization. Next slide. And the reason why is because only 21 out of 50 states require a financial education class. And now, why do you think that? the reason we have to follow the money, and you don't want to know why it's not taught in schools, is because the financial lobby won't allow it. And by the way, if you didn't know this, the richest lobby in America is actually the financial lobby, and they block it all the time. And here's why. The more ignorant that we are about money, the richer that they get. And the groups like us keep pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to fight these billion-dollar corporations. And we are the little guys at the end of the day. We're out here in the ground running, trying to get this information out there. And we are very blessed that the media has been helping us with the coverage. And we do believe that we are going to win eventually, especially when it comes to information like this. And the good thing is that any financial person will tell you all you really need to know about personal finance, you can pretty much write on the back of a cocktail napkin. It's simple, it's power, but it's so powerful. It's little things, but it's very, very powerful. And if you don't implement them, of course, the education is pretty much worthless. Next slide. And so the first concept that we're going to talk about is the power of compound interest. And here's what the studies show. So walk up to 100 people on the street in any town in America and ask them one question. Ask them, do you understand how compound interest works? And according to the studies, this is studies, isn't me, 99 out of 100 people will say, well, yeah, it's just interest and money, it kind of compounds and then it kind of grows. And then, yeah, that's compound interest. But here's the truth. Almost no one really, really understands the power of compound interest. And the people that do understand it are the rich and the financial people. And I'll tell you why. The reason why people don't really, um, take this to heart is because a lot of people associate compound interest with the word magic, which is like, would you think of like all those people in the Wall Street with their suits and all prim and proper, and you think they're talking about compound interest and they have the word magic right next to it? Like, it doesn't make sense, but it's true. That's really how compound interest works, and it's so extreme. So if you've seen an illustration run on a financial instrument or a product, you'll see how the money leaps and bounces over a period of time, and sometimes even decades too, and it's almost unbelievable. You really can't believe that the math is actually correct. So what is compound interest? Compound interest is pretty much the sum of the deposits that you make plus interest plus interest plus interest plus interest, and it goes on and on and on, and pretty much leapfrogs just like magic. And it's crazy because we show these illustrations every day and not a lot of people really take it to heart, or they don't think it's real. They say, oh, there's no way I could have that much money with a small sum over 20 years, over 30 years, over 40 years, but you really can. And like Zoe says, it's like interest on interest. And yes, Zoe, it is interest on interest compounding over years and sometimes even decades. Next slide. So here's an example. Let's say that you open up an account and put over $500 over a period of 45 years. So in total, the amount of money that you would have put in is around $270,000 with no interest, right? Now let's put it at a 9% compounding every single month, locking in those gains. And with just 9%, you've come up with $3.7 million. All of that in the light blue is the interest. You only put in $270,000. And yes, that is a lot of money, but over 45 years, the magic of compounding took that 270 to $3.7 million. And this is pretty much why you have to understand the magic of compound interest, and you really can't look at it the same way. And one of the biggest questions that I've gotten so far is that why do the rich people, why do they keep getting richer? And at the end of the day, it really is a series of strategies. It's the way they think, and this is one of the most powerful. And if you see all that's in the light blue, all of that is free money, but you have to get it at the better rate of return at the right level. And that's what I'm going to say over and over and over. I'm not going to apologize for it because it is so important, and I will sound like a broken record by the end of this, but please, 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 besides reading the book, try not to do this by yourself, because you're not going to get the rate of returns. You can't maximize it unless you're working with a financial professional, because like a lot of people try it all the time, and I don't recommend it, if I'm being honest. And if you already have a financial professional that you know, that you like, that you trust, then by all means stay with them. Cherish that relationship and don't do this alone. And so another question that I get is that is does the rate of return really matter? That is a big question. And you're probably thinking, Nicole, like what's the big deal between 1%, 3% and 3%? It's just 2%, right? Like that's just $2. Well, yes and no because of compound interest. Next slide. So here's another graph. Let's say that you have $178 every single month. You put it there. You start at age 26, leave it for 40 some years until age 66. And this graph, all this information is going to be in the book. And you put it in, and it's about $111,000 into the account, right? And yes, that is a lot of money. And this is what people are trying to do every single day. They do this on their own. And let's just say that you work with someone, with a financial expert, and they know what they're doing, and they say, you know what, I can get you 9%. Let's say that happens, and say, well, if you get me 9%, that beats 1% by like, 8%. So that's around $8, right? That's how the percentage works. No, 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 not at all. Because if you think that, then you really don't understand the power of compound interest. Over 40 years, instead of the $111,000 that you would have made at 1%, at 8% more, that is $1 million. That is a $900,000 decision that you made because you didn't do it alone, didn't do it on an app online. And honestly, I really don't know how well those apps work or not. But yeah, all of a sudden you have $900,000 more in your pocket as long as you've had the right strategy, you made the right decision. And make sure that you play with the numbers, get to know what you're looking for. And now, if you're in your 20s and you're watching this, you are honestly so, 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 so lucky because you have the advantage of time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Next slide. So, let's say that you are 20 years old and you said, I want $1 million by the time I'm age 67. You want to know how much money you're going to have to put into an account? Well, it would be around $113 a month. And you're probably thinking, well, Nicole, I'm 20 years old. I can't make $113 a month. I'm in college. I got so much loans. And if you can, try to call your parents. Try to get any help that you can as possible. Just do it because let's see what happens if you do wait. If you wait until you're 40 years old, you're trying to get the same at age 67, same $1 million at age 67. That is $731 a month from $113 a month. And it's pretty expensive. And then let's say you wait until you're 60 years old. That is $8,000 a month. It's absolutely crazy. And as Tom Matthews likes to say, at some point, all of this is going to be unaffordable. You really can't afford this. And you're probably thinking, okay, Nicole, you know what? You're young. I'm not young anymore. I'm like 50, 60, 70. Do I have a chance? What am I going to do? I'm at that 60. I don't have $8,000. What am I going to do? You're not, look, you're not dead in the water. Don't beat yourself up over it because I mean at the end of the day, they didn't want to give you this type of education and most of us weren't educated. So yes, there are different ways to catch up. There are different strategies for you to catch up. So don't think that this is just for young people. It's not just for young people, I promise. So the next thing that we will talk about is the time value of money. Next slide. And it makes a really big difference. Time is related to money in the case of compound interest for the most part. And the three steps that we like to really emphasize is one, start now. Start now with all of this because there's a big saying in the investing world, which is the best time to start investing was yesterday. The second best time to start investing is today. So make sure not to procrastinate. And I'll tell you something about the rich people. That what the rich people don't do is that they don't procrastinate, especially when it comes to their money. They take action and they take action now. Number two is to save regularly and don't do it sometimes. You have to do it all the time. You got to hammer away at it. You got to be disciplined when you do it, or else you're going to be, you know, maybe driving Uber until you're 100 years old. And I know I'm being a little facetious when I say that, but it is the reality of what's happening in the world today just because people don't really know how money works. And it's not their fault, it's just the way there is. So you get one shot at this and you can't go back. So try your best to keep hammering away and
be very consistent with it. So number 3 is to be patient. You have to let your money grow. And I'll give you a little secret, a little mental secret that the rich people have known. And Steve, if you don't know anything about Steve, he's one of the co-authors of the book. He's interviewed millionaires and billionaires pretty much his whole life, has written books about it. He's a best-selling author. And so he knows a little bit about what happens in their heads. And so what they look at money as, they see money as their employees. And I know it's like a little twisted in some ways. And you're probably thinking, like, are they on something? Like, do I have to call the police? Like, why do they look at their money like employees? But no, 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 no. They see money as employees that you send out to the market that work for you 24/7, 365 while you're sleeping. And here's the other thing about rich people that most people don't know is that they don't live on salaries. They don't live on income. They actually live on interest. And it's crazy because they almost can't outspend their money because they are living on the interest. And while everybody's saying, well, I'm earning this much money, I'm earning this much money, for them, they're probably earning that in their sleep because they know, different strategies and they're stocking it away. And it's really just on a different game and a different level for them. So you do have to be patient. Go put that money to work. Let those little employees work for you 24/7, 365. And the more employees that you have out there working for you, the richer you get, the more secure that you get, the more financially independent that you get. And so now this one is actually, next slide, is a really, really interesting graph because CNBC was the first to actually review our book. And they were the first to call up Steve and say, hey, Steve, we love the book. We love it. But there's this weird page with there's characters and
Sarah and George, and we really just don't think this is possible. Are you sure that you fact checked this? And then Steve says, well, yeah, I had to go through compliance. Of course, I had to fact check this. And she said, well, I figured that you did that. So, I mean, we just breezed over it, and there's no way that this could be correct. And Steve said, well, that's kind of, here's on the other one. Well, that's kind of funny because Tom, Steve, and Andy, the co-authors of the book, they went back and forth about this graph, and at the end of the day, it really just is unbelievable. So she says, you know what? We're gonna fact check this, and we're gonna fact check the whole entire book. So, but just wait for it. And then Steve says, go ahead, do whatever you need to do. And so they did, and they actually published a 4-page article that I do have in my bag somewhere, so if you want to read it later, about fact checking this, because this, honestly, this is really unbelievable. So here is the basis of the story. Sarah is one of the characters of the book, and she started saving at age 22, and she keeps saving until age 30. She puts away around $4,000 a year, and then she stops, which is a horrible idea. Don't do that. Don't stop. But Sarah stopped. But to her credit, she started at 22 years old and she saved for around 8 years, and then she stopped. She let the money grow for years and years and years and years until age 67. While George, on the other hand, which is like most of us, he was living it up in his 20s, I'm very sure, spending his money, going out all the time, blowing his money, probably shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. But then he starts at 30 years old, and he started saving the same amount as Sarah, $4,000 every single year, and he saved for 38 straight years. And at the same rate of return, who has more money at the end, at the age of 67? Sarah has more money at the end, which is crazy because she only saved $32,000, while George, on the other hand, had saved $151,000. But Sarah ends up with more money just because of the fact that she started earlier. She had the time, the interest to grow and grow and grow over and over and over. So with that 8%, she had the compound interest working to her benefit just because of the fact that she started earlier. And actually, Albert Einstein, he called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And he said it was probably the greatest mathematical discovery ever made. And so this is crazy. It really is crazy. So like, if you want to know what these numbers look like, have your financial professional run an illustration for you. And again, for my friends who are not in their 20s, it's okay. It's okay if you didn't start as early. There are different plans out there, but the most important thing is that you start as soon as you possibly can. Start now and be disciplined with it. Don't stop like Sarah stopped, but you can still, continue and keep going. And so the next concept that we have is called the rule of 72. Next slide, which is a mental math shortcut basically designed to show you how long it takes for your money to double. And it's really, really interesting. And Steve was telling me the other day that he was at this cocktail party with, when he was interviewing his like millionaires and billionaires, and he kept seeing people go into corners and he was just hearing doubles, doubles, doubles. And if you know a little bit about Steve, he's a tennis player. So he was just thinking like, why are you talking about doubles? I'm the tennis player. If you want to play, we can play outside. Like, why are you talking about doubles all the way over there in the corner? And so what he heard from them is that they were talking about doubling their money, how long it takes for their money to double. And because it'll determine how wealthy you'll be in your life. And he said that he's never heard it anywhere other than from them and the people in our organization. So the rule of 72, it's basically taking 72 divided by the given interest, and that'll tell you how long your money is going to double. So $1 into $2, or if you had $2, it'll see how $2 will turn into $4. And so, for example, let's say that you're getting 1% interest, which is absolutely insane. You should probably be celebrating because banks don't even give you 1% interest nowadays. But let's say that you have 1% interest. All you do is take 72 divided by 1, and your money doubles every 72 years. Woo! Woo! It's crazy. Like it's a lifetime for most people, but hang on, don't get discouraged. Let's say that you know what you're doing, you got the strategies, you got the help. And next slide. Let's say, hey, you know what? I can get you 3%. And remember, we were talking about earlier in the beginning how, 1% to 3% is really not that big of a difference. It is that big of a difference because instead of 72 years, your money doubles every 24 years. So that's a third of the time cut off. And remember, like $1 to $2, that's not really, super impressive. But let's say that you had $100,000 to $200,000, and you're like, whoa, hold on, that's big money, it's for your money to double. So $200,000 in a third of a time, like you really see the difference of what the percentages is like. But let's say that you have 6%. So 6% every 12 years your money doubles, and you kind of see, what's happening. The higher percentage, the less time for your money to double. So 9%, 8 years for your money to double, 12%, 6 years for your money to double. And the rate of return really does matter a lot. So another graph that we have, next slide. This is part of the article that CNBC actually wrote about us. And it's crazy because they gave us the percentages of your banks. Woo! So if you see, there's a bunch of names up there. I'm actually with Bank of America, which is really sad because it's about 0.03%. So if you put that into the equation, it's crazy. 72 divided by 0.03 is 2,400 years that my money was doubling. And it's crazy because when I was a kid, I was 17 and I opened up my first bank account. I had my first job. I was super excited about it, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to put away money in my savings account. I'm going to have the best time in my life. I put away $300, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to be so rich, because I didn't know about these numbers. They just said, you know what, you're going to get a percentage, you're going to get an interest. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So it took 3 years. 3 years passed, and basically I didn't know what I was doing with my money, blew it all off, and all I had was the $300. And I was thinking to myself, well, it's okay. I have my savings. They said I was going to get an extra percentage. I'm going to be, at least $75, $100. Hopefully I'll have more money by then. And so I sit down and I look at my accounts, and I had a whole whopping $300.23 in the last 3 years of growth. So it was really sad. But now that now that you understand why it was growing so slow, because the percentages are so incredibly low. And it's just crazy because all of this money is pretty much just sitting in the banks. And how much money is sitting in the banks? $10 trillion are just sitting in the banks. And I'm no money genius, but I think $10 trillion is uh, 10,000 billion dollars. Is that?
I don't know. It sounds right, but so why is it sitting in accounts that pay almost no interest? Because people don't know how money works, and it's crazy because the rich people don't really like when I say this live, but rich people, they don't keep their money in the banks. I'm sorry, I know, but I mean, why would they when you see these types of rates of return? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure they keep a little bit in there just so it's easier to deal with like little transactions here and there. But it's not any serious money that they're keeping in there because it's not really gonna do anything. But $10 trillion sitting in the bank, it's crazy because to give you an idea, the US economy is $17 trillion on its own, gross domestic product. And to think that more than half, 10 trillion, is just sitting there, isn't that crazy? That it's just sitting there for one reason, and it's just because people don't know how money works. And let's look at the average rate of return, next slide, that we're getting according to CNBC. And 0.09% is sadly a little bit high, but it changes on the daily basis. But this is what we're averaging at now. 72 divided by 0.09, that means your money doubles every 800 years. It's so sad. It is so sad. So think about this in real time. So let's say that I wanted to open up a passbook savings account, and I said, well, you know what, I really want to open up account, but it's kind of a large deposit, so don't say anything. Like, don't say it out loud. I don't want you to say it because I think somebody might follow me or something. Like, please don't tell me out loud. Are you ready for how much I have to put in the account? And the bank person says, yeah, tell me. I have $100 that I want to put into this account. Don't tell anyone. Don't say it out loud. Don't speak, please, please. It's not going to be good if you tell them out loud. And I said, "Oh yeah. You know what? Okay, yeah, I'll take your $100. Give it to me, and we'll take care of you. All right? You're a VIP because you put in so much money. It's a VIP treatment for you, and now because you put so much money with us, you're a VIP member. You've qualified for a $5,000 credit card from our bank. Now, most people don't get this deal, but you, because you're a VIP member, you get this deal. And so you're all, oh, yay, $5,000. Yay, congratulations on your success. You're filling out the paperwork. You're having a great day. And then you start to walk out and they say, hey, here you go, dum dum. And you say, what? Oh, dum dum lollipops. You want some? Like, because if you've noticed in the banks, they serve out dum dum lollipops to you, and it's like a little trick that they have, a little game that they're trying to play with you. They serve dum dums to you because that's pretty much what's happening. You are giving them your money, growing at nothing, pretty much. And then on the other hand, next slide, we're averaging at 17.4% interest from the banks that they are charging you. So they give us 0.09%, but they charge us 17.4%. And it's our money. And they get the spread all in between. Because if you think about it, banks don't really make money, they get the spread of the interest. And so do you ever wonder why banks are the richest entities in the world? And this is why, because walk down any street, any city, look up, and it's a bank. Even in ours, Chase, Real Bank, Real Bank, Real, which one? Real, right? Real is the newest one that just popped up too. And this is why they're really rich, because their money doubles every 4 years while ours doubles every 800 years. And it's crazy and it makes no sense. And that's why we said, stop being a sucker, because we are really suckers if you didn't know this. And it happens pretty much every single day. So next slide. We're going to be talking about the 7 money milestones, which is basically the roadmap. So what we love to do is we do love to educate, but most importantly, we want you to take action on the things that you are learning today. So this is our action plan, the 7 money milestones. So if you implement these with somebody guiding you along, you can really, really maximize on the potential, and you have a great chance becoming financially independent. And I know it's a lot of stress worrying about money because, most people just don't know, or they don't take action, or a combination of two. But it's a really different life when you do have financial independence, where you don't have to think about money anymore, except to maybe just strategize about it. And you think think about the more important things, which is what you're passionate about. Maybe you like to sing, maybe you like to draw, maybe you like to dance. You can focus more on things like that. So this is the roadmap. Next slide. And remember, education is my number one goal for you to read the book. Read the book, please. Please read the book. And next slide. And then, of course, have somebody guiding you and helping you along. Next slide. And now we have proper protection, but protection against what? The loss of savings, the loss of incomes. And I think this is a very interesting thing because I do believe that it's easier to build a fortune than it is to keep a fortune. And this is what Steve would hear all the time from, just like interviewing those millionaires and billionaires. Everybody wants a piece of your money. And it's mostly the government. And I'm not going to get into politics, so don't worry, but they all want our money because they don't produce anything. All they have is our money to use. And you do have to protect it. And one way to protect it is insurance. And I know every time I mention insurance, people grab their bags and said, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you talking about insurance?" But guys, I'm here to educate you. And insurance is one of the most powerful products there are. Just ask the rich people. You want to know who buys the most insurance policies? Big corporations. And there is a reason. And it's not what you think. It's just a very powerful product. And I'll whip through it quickly. But a big question that I get, next slide, is how much do you need? So this is just a rule of thumb. This is not wholesale advice. I can't give you wholesale advice in a setting like this, but it really is hard to have a definitive number just because there are a lot of factors like your age, your goals, your family members, kids, the place you are in your life. There are a million and one things that you have to go through to get advice correctly, but this is just a general rules to kind of help out. So you do have to take a series of steps to do this right. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, anybody can buy insurance. You could see those ads online and everywhere it says any insurance, no qualifications, $899 a month. But I mean, Steve has known these people. He's worked in the financial industry, and most of the times they're really not good deals for you. But general rule is 10 times your family income. So let's say that you're making $50,000. Then what you would need in coverage is usually around $500,000. And when it comes to insurance, there are two types. Next slide. And again, I'll breeze through this. All the information is going to be in detail for you in the book. The first is temporary, which is term. And this lasts for a term, which is usually like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And it's a really good product depending on the person in need. And it's pretty inexpensive. And you can get honestly covered pretty well with a low investment. And usually when people get term is when they're younger, they have responsibilities, they have kids, they have loans, they have school, they have car payments, all those things. And then all of a sudden you get hit by a bus and then your family's on the street. Yeah. I'm not saying this in a funny way. I'm just saying this because this is the reality, what's happening every single day in America. Middle class families are fine until somebody dies unexpectedly and then all of a sudden they're on the street. Like, this is just the reality. This is what's happening in the world. And so you do have to protect your family from that. And for us, our organization is made up of free agents. So we work with companies all over. We are able to shop around all over, everywhere for you. We're really not tied down to any specific company. And usually what happens when people are tied out to a specific company, sometimes they double the prices. And it sucks to hear, but with term insurance, it's like a commodity, like apples or wheat. You can pretty much get it anywhere. There's not really a difference. But when people are tied down to, a specific company, it could just be a little bit pricier. So I definitely would recommend a free agent. And then the next slide is going to be the next one, which is permanent insurance. And this one is the one that you can't outlive. Again, this is permanent. So I know people always say, "Oh, insurance, stop talking about it. Like, spray me with some Lysol. It's dirty. I don't want to hear about it." But I mean, I'm just trying to educate you at the end of the day. I know a lot of people aren't, insurance people specifically aren't regarded that well, but I'm here to, challenge those thoughts. And they really should be regarded well because these are very, very powerful products and they can help you. And again, It just goes back to the fact that people don't know how money works. And permanent insurance is most powerful because obviously there is a death benefit. So if anything happens to the breadwinner of the family, your family is protected. They're not going to be on the streets. And a big question that Steve gets from people online and, all these interviews is that he gets called almost every day from reporters asking, Steve, why do rich people get life insurance policies? Because I mean, if they die, their family already has the money. They have a ton of money. They're rich. Why would they need life insurance policies? Well, that's exactly it. Why would they need life insurance policies? Because at the end of the day, it's really not just about the death benefit. It's about the money that you have. And another thing that you can do with an insurance contract, next slide, is that you can attach a long-term care rider as an addendum. And with that long-term care rider, you can buy coverage for basically pennies on the dollar. If you've ever looked into long-term care, usually they have cases where it says it in the contract itself that you can gain percentage, your premium goes up every single year. So long-term care itself is insanely expensive, and this is how they've minimized the cost by adding it on to the insurance policy. And this is really just to help with healthcare, because we all kind of know how bad healthcare is in this country. I mean, if you've ever had to stay one day, maybe even a week in the hospitals, things rack up. The prices get really, really high. And I mean, aspirin itself is already $25. It's absolutely ridiculous. And no one can afford it. So long-term care is expensive, but this is how they've learned to fix it and make it better for most people. And the biggest thing is that if you can qualify it, the earlier you qualify for it, the better for you, because as time goes by, you might not be able to qualify for it in the future. And contrary to a lot of people's belief, insurance companies don't just hand these out like little pieces of candy. You do have to qualify, and it's usually for a medical level. But once you have it, nobody can take it away from you as long as you pay the premiums. But if you're incredibly sick, nobody can take it away from you. And the number one reason why a lot of people are sick now, are people go broke nowadays, is because they get sick. They're in the hospitals. They can't pay for that. I mean, I love this country, land of the free, home of the brave, but our healthcare system kind of sucks. But I mean, I have families and friends that go broke every day because just because of healthcare. And the long-term care rider is great because it's pennies on the dollar. And to give you an example, so Steve, he has $1 million policy with $500,000 coverage, money, $500,000 of coverage in long-term care. And how much does he pay for the long-term care? $500 a year, not a month. $500 a year for $500,000 of coverage. So 70% of us really need long-term care, but only 8% of us have it. Why? Because people don't tell you about things like this, where you can save money, of course, and get the benefits from this. And long-term care really is important. So here are other benefits when it comes to just like permanent life insurance. I'm not going to go super, next slide, heavy into detail, but one of them is zero market risk, so you don't lose money, tax-free growth. And this is the number one reason why rich people, why they buy insurance. Actually, it's because big corporations actually buy insurance contract. It's because when you have an insurance contract and you put money into it, let's say that every single month you've decided to put $100 into it. If you put $200 into the account, your money grows also with the compound interest. And here it is. All of that is completely tax-free growth. And you're probably thinking like, Nicole, this is illegal. You're telling me illegal things. I need to get up and get out of here because I can't. This is not true. But it is true. Ask any rich person in America, and this is what they call overfunding the insurance contract. And this is all tax-free. And why? Because the IRS can't touch this money. And this is probably one of the only products that you can buy that the IRS can't touch, and they can't get your money. So this is a really big deal why, like the rich people, they own multiple, but they really don't have to get that crazy into it. But this is just to help with that. And of course, there is also a tax-free legacy. So the next milestone that we have is the emergency fund. Next slide. And this is just not super simple to do, but it is a very simple concept to understand. This is where you put 3 to 6 months of your income into an account. So if your roof is leaking, you have a bad generator, your car breaks down, this is why you have your emergency fund, so that you don't take the money out from, remember, your little employees working for you in your investment accounts. You don't take money from them because you still want them to be working, right? They're growing your money for you. So this is set aside for you to have just in case of an emergency if anything happens. Next slide. So a rule of thumb, just to give you like an idea what that looks like. Let's say that you have $50,000 that you make every single year. The good range is between the 3 to 6 months, which is 12,500 to around $25,000. And the two main rules that we have when it comes to your emergency fund is one, only use your emergency fund for emergencies. And number two, if there is an emergency, don't put it on your credit card. Use your emergency fund money. This is why you put it aside. This is for when your car breaks down or your refrigerator's off or things like that. So make sure to go by those two rules, especially when it comes to your emergency fund. And then next we have is debt management. Next slide. Um, Tom Tom Matthew is one of the co-authors of the book. He mentioned Dave Ramsey, who's really, really big on the internet about talking about debt, and everything he says is totally, totally right. This is where you learn to curb your spending habits, and we'll talk about a couple things in the book. Next slide. And I will let you guys read these, but it's very basic. It's very simple. The main two that I focused on and that has helped me get rid of $3,000 of debt in 3 months was to know what you owe, target one debt at a time. And if I could add another thing, which is to be consistent and to be disciplined whenever it comes to the plan that you came up with yourself to get rid of that debt. Because I know it's so tempting to not put it away towards your debt, to not especially if you just had to pay the minimums. But in order for you to really just maximize on that, make sure to be disciplined and stick with your plan to get rid of that debt. And now we have milestone number 5, next slide, which is increasing your cash flow. So you do have to increase your cash flow, and that'll definitely help for you. So there's a couple of tips that we have, which is, to curb your spending habits to really help keep the cash flow in. Next slide. And if you're working at your job, you know that there's opportunities for promotions. You can definitely do that. You can do that to help with your investment accounts. And the biggest side gigs right now are Uber, Lyft. There's so many options for you out there. You can create a budget. And the biggest one is the PMI. This one is actually like probably one of the biggest ripoffs, because if you don't know anything about PMI, is that if you don't own 20% of your house, they have extra charges and extra fees just because of the fact that you don't own 20% of your house. So once you know that you reach 20% of owning your home, make sure to refinance that so that you don't have to pay those extra fees when it comes to, just a private mortgage insurance. And then the next one, the next milestone is going to be building wealth. And this one is big because once you build your wealth, once you have the money, you have to know how to keep it. And of course, you have to know how to grow it. And for building wealth, we talk about a couple of threats in the book, but the biggest one that I really want to address, because it's the main one that everybody talks about all the time, is taxes. What do the super rich talk about every single day? They talk about taxes. And these are the type of conversations that they have, because what do the rich want to look at when it comes to their money? They always look at the threats, the thing that's going to take away their money. And this is taxes are one of them. So there are 3 main ways to get taxed. Next slide, which are tax now, tax later, which is also called tax deferred, and then of course tax never, which is my personal favorite. Never get taxed ever again. And I can definitely go over these, but the most important thing is that if you do have your financial professional, get this in the book, circle it, stamp it, highlight it, tell them like, I need you to tell me what to do to get this tax never, because it's absolutely amazing, and it is all legal. I promise, it is all legal. And it's probably one of the biggest topics that a lot of people, fight over, especially, I'm pretty sure you've heard of stories like this before, that the president, let's say, for example, the president of Microsoft is paying less in taxes percentage wise compared to the secretary also working at Microsoft making around $40,000 a year. And I'm really not trying to be political about this, but this is just, in a complete context for money. This is what's actually happening. The president knows a little bit more about how money works, and he's paying an effective tax rate of about, like 10, 12%, while on the other hand, the secretary is paying a tax rate of around 37 to 40%. And he's using a system that's legal because he knows how money works, and she does not. And I'm not going to blame the president, or I'm not going to blame the secretary, because it's really not about privilege. At the end of the day, it's just all about education. And so that'll take us to our seventh money milestone, which is to protect your wealth. Again, protect it. Don't let them take it. And if you know, like Prince, or like Aretha Franklin, they were amazing performers, ton of money. They passed a little early, and they had no will. So imagine trying to handle millions and millions of dollars, trying to split it between, their company with their family. They probably had land, and they had no idea what to do with it because they didn't prepare. They didn't prepare for what would happen in the future. So make sure, take responsibility. Every single day people die, and that's just pretty much what it is. And make sure to get these documents done. Next slide. And usually before, it was expensive because you would have to pay, like $500 an hour for a lawyer, and I get it. But we are in new times. There are new innovations. We have new technologies out there. And before, it used to cost like what, $3,000 to $4,000 to get these things in place. But now it's so much cheaper. Like we have Netflix now and things like that. So they have different services available to get this a lot cheaper for you. So you're going to want these 4 documents in place, which is your will, your financial power of attorney, which is like pretty much what are you going to do with your money, with your finances, your living will. So what happens if you can't make the decision on your own? Who's going to make the decisions for you? And then the HIPAA release, so that they have access to anything that could have happened to you in the past. They have your medical records so that they can make good decisions for you based on the living will. And so this is just a really good idea for, just planning for the future. And the next video, well, I hope it plays. It's not going to play. Well, the video was supposed to be George. He was supposed to help me out. He's one of the characters of the book, and he was basically making spicy chili. And basically, I I wish I memorized the video, but he was basically saying, read the book. That was my final plea. George was going to help me out a little bit to read the book, because it'll really help, and it'll really make sure that you take action on that. And so the slide after, yes, we can start passing out the books now. Slide after that is so the next steps, which is the slide, the blue slide, if it's there. Okay, there you go. The next steps are to complete the evaluation form. So as teachers, we do get evaluated all the time. We want to get better at what we do, and we really are on a mission to get people to understand this information. We want to get better. We want to get evaluated. So if you guys could take some time, take your phone out and fill that out, I would really, really appreciate it. And schedule a personal review. And again, if you have somebody, stick with them. If you know, like, trust them, stick with them. Just tell them a little bit about what you learned today. Circle them and say, hey, how can I get all these things that were mentioned in the class that I attended recently? But if you don't, we definitely have help for you, and it's completely free too. So if you want a personal review, it'll be completely free. And then of course, my last and final plea, read the book. Read the book. But yes, thank you guys. That's pretty much all for me, and I think we made good timing. Right? 5 minutes before. Thank you. Thank you.
Did anybody's mind explode yet? So just to close, in closing, I want to go ahead and pass around the donation bucket. We always ask people to help out. If you don't, not required, but here you go. But it helps out a lot when you support our organization. But I would like to share, it's interesting. When I met Nicole this year, one of the things I wanted to do was learn more about finances. And I've been reading, I already read 2 books, and this is the 3rd one I'm reading about finances, because I would like to emphasize the fact that man, we really need to learn about how money works. My mom is the one that taught me, and it took me 40 years before I finally understood what she was telling me. Let me tell you one simple rule she was always trying to tell me: son, don't spend more than you make. Don't spend more than you make. See, when my mom was when she was growing up and learning all this stuff, you used to be able to put money in the bank, and once it was over, that was it. You had $1,000 in the bank, you spend all that throughout the month, and it's zero balance. Oh, it's time to put more money in there. That's how she learned. So she saved. But today, you can whiz right past zero with your credit cards, right? And that's what most people do. I did it. Who did it? Come on, raise your hand if you've done that. We've all done that. And now at my age, when I was listening to her, I'm gonna be 60 next year. But I'm gonna try to take care of my family, and I want to leave something for my wife. I want to be so I'm this is something that I wanted to do for me, and I wanted to do for you, so you can start thinking. I know this was a lot of information. You're not gonna get it all in one. Read the book. Read the book. It's really simple. I'm halfway through it, so I'm excited to learn more and to learn more about what Nicole has to say. But guys, does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Right? Okay. No, and what I'm going to encourage everybody to do is start learning. See, remember, this class is all about going to the top, learning how to better our lives, learning how to guide our lives. And money, everybody needs money. It's something that it's one of the things that we least know how to deal with and manage. So, guys, thank you for coming to this evening. I hope this helped you. I'm sure you can ask Nicole some questions before she leaves. And remember, next on Saturday, if you're going to the prison invasion, we're meeting at 6 in the morning here at the church for the prison invasion. And other than that, we'll see you next week on Thursday. Thank you for watching online. God bless you. We'll see you next week. God bless.